We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred. With Maxwell Silverhammer. We are nothing sacred. With cruise control. We are nothing sacred.
Oh yeah, welcome another edition of Nothing Sacred. We have a very special guest on tonight. I'm Maxwell Silverhammer.
And I am Cruise Control.
And with us is Officer Joe Di Lillo, who is with the South Euclid Police Department. He's the information officer, but also he's with EDGE Swat, which is a multi-jurisdictional tactical SWAT team, and he's a hostage negotiator. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us, Joe. And as we always do when we first have people, first responders and law enforcement on, just want to thank you for your service. It's not an easy thing to do. And unlike a lot of people out there, we fully support our law enforcement and first responders because I know I couldn't do it. So I'm grateful for those who have the ability to step up and do that for us. It's definitely needed.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So, man, why don't you give us a little rundown of your little law enforcement career, as it were?
Sure. I've been a police officer in Ohio here since 2005. I started with Put-in-Bay, which is a small island. It's a party island, if you will, off the shores of the Lake Erie. That's usually where people go drink, have a good time. Worked there for about 2 years, and in fall of 2006, started working for the South Euclid Police Department, which is a suburb of Cleveland. It borders the east side of Cleveland. I've been there ever since. Started off working on regular patrol. It's a great place to work. It's a great community. Got a lot of different people in the community that contribute so much to our community. Mm-hmm. I want to say about 6 or 7 years after I got hired on, we started doing social networking, Facebook, Instagram, started handling our department's Facebook page. A couple years after that, became the department's public information officer, which is the officer responsible for disseminating information to the public, to the news, and letting them know what's going on, being transparent, getting that information out there. Right around 2015, I joined EDGE, our hostage negotiation team, as a negotiator for that team. Did that for about 4 years. I recently became the school resource officer for the city of South Euclid, working directly in our schools. So I kind of gave up doing the negotiating thing and strictly wanted to focus on working as a school resource officer. So I was a hostage negotiator up until about 2 months ago.
Wow. Quick side note, my family is from the Warren, Ohio area near Cleveland.
Nice. It's about 45 minutes away.
Yeah, the world-famous hot dog shop.
Yes,
you've ever been there before, but yeah, so I'm familiar slightly familiar with the area, but I'm in the West Coast,
So the school thing kind of was more rewarding for you, I see. Well, not rewarding, I shouldn't say, but less. It didn't always turn out so sad, right?
Max, it's a good opportunity to talk with the kids and develop a relationship with these kids before they become adults. Have good conversation, have good, develop a rapport with them, see that the police officers are there to work with them. It was a good position, so I jumped on it. I've been doing it since August. I like it. It's nice. When I first got hired on as the school resource officer, some of the kids are like, "Oh man, why is there a cop in the school?" Right? But in the time that's passed since then, now I can't get away from these kids. They're always wanting, "Hey Joe, how you doing? Hey Mr. Joe, Officer Joe."
Are these high school kids, or what's the age group with these kids?
So I have Greenview Upper Elementary School, so 4, 5, and 6 for half the day, and the other half is 7 and 8. So I have the middle school kids where it's yeah, right.
Well, they're fun.
They're fun. They're fun. It's like watching the movie The Goonies, except you're in charge of the Goonies. You guys familiar with the movie Goonies?
I'm sure. Absolutely.
80s classic, man.
An 80s classic. But I'm now finding myself in the movie, except I'm more of the head goonie, if you will. And it's awesome, but I'm in charge of the Goonies. So if you can remember the movie, just think back to what it might be like to be in charge of the Goonies, and that's the position I'm in.
Wow. Well, I do have to ask you, there was a situation on your guys or something on your Facebook where you and a bunch of officers put on some high heels.
Yes.
What was that about?
Extremely different. So we did a thing. Walk a mile in her shoes in the city of Cleveland. So you were able to walk for a mile in her shoes. Yeah, right. Oh, shit is right.
God.
So we had to wear high heels and walk around downtown Cleveland to say we've walked a mile in her shoes and we're supporting domestic violence. We're awareness and supporting that it's okay to if you're in a tough situation where you're married to somebody who might be treating you poorly, to reach out to law enforcement or reach out to somebody, but to walk a mile in their shoes. So we did the high heels thing and had to walk around downtown Cleveland in June in high heels. And it's so funny because the city of Cleveland, I think some people knew this was going on. I think most people did not. So people are sitting in their bars and restaurants and they're having drinks on the patio and they're seeing a bunch of people walk around, males with high heels on walking around. But that was why we did that, Matt.
Were you in uniform too? Did you have your vest and your gun and the whole bit, or what?
I did not. I did not have my vest on. I had high heels on, shorts, and a hat on that said negotiator. I had my police badge around my neck. And my girlfriend at the time, now fiance, had a shirt made that said Officer Yummy Pants with the South Euclid. That's her nickname for me. She put this shirt together. So me and my chief Nieder walked around in this event, walk a mile in her shoes, with this silly ass shirt on and high heels, walking around downtown Cleveland.
I don't know what's funnier, man, the high heels or the Officer Yummy Pants. Which one,
It's the combo. It's the combo.
I was going to say it's probably the combo, but definitely the Officer Yummy Pants got some comments because I'm far from Officer Yummy Pants. I'm Officer Ugly Pants. But
wow.
Definitely got the high heels definitely had people looking, but the shirt definitely gathered quite a bit of attention, gentlemen. Definitely.
Oh, man. Well, which brings me to my what we were going to talk to you about originally, which was your incident that you were on. If anybody saw the show Body Cam a few weeks ago, the episode was called 90 Minutes, and Joe was the second story, man. So run that story down a little bit. What happened that day?
So on August 1st, 2017, I was dispatched to a very, I would say, routine call of a female called the South Euclid Police Department and said her ex, which is not accurate, estranged husband had sent her a picture of a firearm. There was no threat attached. This isn't an alarming call. It's a weird call, but not really that alarming. Responded to the studio, the dance studio / daycare, which she's the operator of. There were 6 or 8 children inside. Get there, start interviewing her, take her initial complaint. My initial thing is I'm going to speak to her, get her statement, forward it to the prosecutor's office, and move on from there. It's not a very big deal to receive this type of call. But got there, and she hits me with this massive amount of information that I was totally caught off guard with, that it is her estranged husband. She's there with her current boyfriend, right? So read between the lines there.
Yeah.
Had sent her a picture of a firearm and said he was on the way to the dance studio / daycare. It operated both. It was a daycare during the day and a dance studio at night. So she said she was on the way, or he said he was on the way, told her via FaceTime that he was coming there to, I guess, for no lack of a better term, address the situation. So you can see where this might be concerning. You have several children there that are part of the daycare. Yeah. Anthony and Angela have several children together, and Anthony is on the way to handle or discuss whatever their situation is. She's leaving him for another man. And that's kind of that situation. And then we get there. I get there and I find out there's a restraining order out against this guy. She shows me a video of him with a gun to his head saying he's on the way. This is all kinds of effed up, gentlemen. Like, this is just, it completely changed the dynamic of the call that I was originally dispatched to. I was going to a simple call of somebody sending a picture of a firearm. In reality, I get there to find out she's cheating on this guy. He's on the way with a gun, holding it to his head, sent her a video of him with a gun to his head, saying he's on the way. Quote, I'm on the way, don't worry about nothing, and then hangs up. So all of a sudden, it turns into an oh shit moment very, very quickly.
You became more than just someone passing on information, you became like a protector, because at that point, you had to figure out, like, someone coming, you were already there, and he's on his way, so you became like a protector in a way, right?
Yes, a protector that it wasn't in a good situation to do protection.
Gotcha.
Now, if Angela had called the dispatch center and said my estranged husband, who I'm filing for divorce for, is on the way to the daycare center, and I have a restraining order against him, he's threatened harm against me and my kids, he's armed with a firearm, you would have gotten a completely different response from the department. But she didn't say that when she called. She just said her ex texted her a picture of a firearm. So I showed up like Barney Fife walking in the door just to take a simple report to go to the prosecutor's office, when in reality, he's on the way with a gun. A restraining order's in place. He's threatened death on their kids before. I didn't know any of that. So all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of a shit show.
It's pretty pretty remarkable. That, I mean, did you have any idea in your mind why she would not release that information when originally calling?
That's a good point. Yeah, why didn't she tell you that?
Is it just dumb person, like not too bright, or?
No, I don't think Angela's not too bright. I think Angela's very smart. I think Angela set the very minimum information across to get a police officer to respond. She was very nonchalant. She said, hey, listen, my ex is on the way, or my ex is on the way, I'm sorry. My ex sent me a picture of a firearm. That's all that really she communicated to the dispatch center. I think she just gave the bare minimum information, and it turned out there was so much more behind that. That she was leaving him for another man. He's an ex-professional athlete. He played football for the Washington Redskins. She had taken some of his money. She was leaving him for another man. The other man was on scene. The children that Angela had with Anthony, their 4 kids, were on scene. Had she given that information to the police department, you'd have seen a massive call out. There would have been a lockdown. Streets would have been locked down. It would have been a completely different response, but that information wasn't given. So based off that, you got a completely different response. You had me showing up by myself saying, oh, hey, what's going on? How you doing? When in reality, all that information been given, gentlemen, you would have received a completely different response from the department.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Seems a little manipulative, though, on her part. You know, like what was she hoping? Like you and the guy would shoot it out there or something, or what? You know,
I don't know. I looking back on this incident almost 3 years after it ended, it's hard to say what ultimately she wanted. I think she was concerned that her husband, who has violent tendencies, was coming to the studio. I just think she should have done a better job at relaying that information. But I mean, that's you
crazy.
can't blame somebody for not giving that information. I mean, who expects to make that call to police?
I guess that's
she
true.
Just look at it this way, gentlemen. Had she called the police, now nobody wants, no dispatcher wants somebody to call the police screaming, yelling, "My ex is on the way. He's got a gun. I have a restraining order against him. I'm scared as fuck." We're allowed to swear right here, right?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, totally.
Okay. Nobody wants that, but had she had done that, you would have gotten a different response from the police department.
Yeah.
But she called in just saying, "Hey, my ex called. He's got a picture of a firearm." You got that response. Whereas if you called screaming and yelling, which we don't want, you would have gotten that response. You would have gotten massive police officers coming into the daycare where several children are.
Yeah.
You would have gotten a different response.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that could have gone on with that, I would assume. But so what happened? What happened next? What happened after that? Obviously, you had to go through some thoughts in your mind about, oh shit, what am I going to do now?
So I get there, and what I didn't realize is that he'd be calling, and he called her cell phone just a few minutes after I was on scene. So I had to make a decision on what I want to do with this. Ignore the call. Call my supervisor via the police radio and let him know what's going on, or answer the phone. If I don't answer the phone, I don't know where he is. I don't know where he could walk in those doors at any time, or hit silent or hit the ignore button and let my supervisor know. But that costs time. That makes minutes. That's crucial time that we strictly didn't have at the time. So I chose to answer the phone and talk to him directly, and he picked up. And I think when you're calling your ex-wife or estranged wife who's leaving you with another man, and a hostage negotiator answers the phone, you're probably having the worst day of your life, I would think, right, gentlemen?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Quite possibly.
Yeah, that's when
quite possibly.
you got that feeling like bees are flying around inside you. You know, you just want it to be over. You know, there's something you want, a solution or something. You know.
I agree. So I answer the phone, and he's pissed. He's angry. He's like, "Why isn't my wife answering the phone? Who are you? Why is the police answering the phone?" And I just tried to assure him, "Hey, Anthony, I saw a video of you that you were on the way to this daycare center. You have a gun to your head. I want to talk to you. I want to find out what's going on. I want to figure out why you're coming here. I want to talk to you. I want to get this situation resolved peacefully. Your kids are here. Let's not overreact. Let's take everything in perspective. Let's figure out what's going on, and hopefully bring this to a peaceful resolution." He was extremely pissed. He did not want to talk to me. He did not want to talk to a police officer. I get it. But throughout the course of our conversation, I was able to convince him to switch to FaceTime.
So that you could see him.
Yeah, I think that's important, right, guys? When you look at somebody in the eye, it changes the dynamic of things. So I got him to switch to FaceTime. He looked at me. I looked at him. And he saw me for who I am. Yeah, I'm a police officer, but there's a face behind that.
Right.
And there's a face behind you. So we were able to kind of look at each other. I didn't know where the hell he was. He could have been right outside the business or 5 miles away. I don't know. But at least I'm able to look at him, and he looks at me, and we can develop some kind of rapport. We can look at each other in the face, and I can hopefully implement de-escalation and try to bring the situation to a calm.
Man. Well, you know, I like how you empathized with him at some point. You said, "Look, I've been through the same thing. I've had issues with, you know, my ex-wife and kids." And I think he could tell it was genuine, you know, that it wasn't just some guy going, "Oh, I feel your pain, bro. Sucks to be you," you know, but really, you know, I think he could see that it was genuine with you.
I think so, Max. I was able to say, "Hey, listen, I've been through this shit myself, man. We guys, haven't everyone in this room been affected by a divorce or a relationship ending?"
Yeah,
unfortunately,
yes.
Guy. Talk to every guy, every girl.
Yeah,
Everybody's
everybody.
been through this.
Yep.
So I threw that out there, and I'm like, "Hey, man, listen. I'm not in your situation. I'm not I'm not going potentially through a divorce with 4 kids, and my wife isn't cheating on me with a man at a daycare, but I've been through this shit myself. Listen, I hear you. He's a professional athlete, a retired professional athlete. I'm a police officer. We come from different walks of life, but man, we've been through shit. Every guy's been through shit. So let's talk. Let's figure out what's going on here. Let's not make this worse than what it needs to be."
Man. So eventually you got him to actually meet you somewhere, didn't you?
Correct. So we after some conversation, my thing by going to FaceTime, I was hoping to see his location. I could see perhaps something in the background that I would identify with where he's at. And I couldn't see anything. Nothing worked. We tried pinging his phone. That didn't work. I couldn't see his background too well because I was just looking at his face. But he, through good conversation, took his phone and switched the phone so it would face not his face, but away from him. So I'm like, where are you? So he actually showed me street signs as to where he was at and showed me landmarks as to where he was at. So he's like, this is where I'm at. Come meet me here. I'll talk to you personally, which is huge because most times people that are considering terrible acts of violence aren't usually cooperating with law enforcement. As a matter of fact, they usually hate law enforcement.
Yeah.
But he showed me where he was at, and then he agreed to meet me at a train station in Shaker Heights, which is 2 cities over from South Euclid.
Okay, so at that point, so you're going to go meet him now. In terms of protocol, is that something that you would? I mean, at some point you have to let. I would assume you're letting other people know in the department know what's going on because it seems like kind of a dangerous situation. Just go meet some guy who's armed,
Right.
At a
train station.
Yeah.
So, Cruz, you got it right, brother. That is something I don't have the ability to leave my city and go over 2 cities over. I don't have that. I need authorization from my supervisor, who will have to let the supervisor from the other city, 2 cities over in Shaker Heights, know what the hell is going on. So that takes some time because calls have to be placed and this, that, and the other.
They're not
So
in their
that
office, whatever.
Right. And then, one of the biggest mistakes I made in this incident, if you watch the tape and you watch the body cam episode, one of the biggest mistakes I made, and I made a ton, is he agreed to meet me at a train station. Anthony, picked the meeting point. I should have intervened and said, Anthony, I will meet you, but it's not going to be at a train station. A train station is a terrible spot to meet. Why? There's people, hostages, a train where he can get on. He's got a gun. What if he gets on the train and takes that train to the heart of downtown Cleveland? What if he gets to that station and sees something he doesn't like and takes hostages? Bad idea. He agreed to meet me there. I probably should have directed him somewhere else. In reality, he didn't go to that location. He went to a far worse location. He ended up going to an elementary school.
Oh, shit.
Shit. So I pull into the train station where I think I'm going to meet him and have this conversation. Now, there's a lot of police officers. Shaker Heights, the other cities, they're notified that there's a homicidal, suicidal male driving around with a gun to his head, driving a Ford or a Ford F-150. I can't remember what the car was. But they're looking for this car. I pull into the train station where I expect to meet him. This whole area is shut down. They got wind that there was a potential hostage incident there, and he wasn't there. I didn't know where the hell he was. I was just driving along in my police car for another block or 2 and saw an enormous police response at an elementary school. I'm like, oh, shit.
This is just what he didn't want.
This is right. He ended up going to a worse location.
Right.
I pull in and there are guys. It looked like a TV show, a TV movie. Police officers everywhere. You have a Channel 5 helicopter going overhead. He is outside of his car. Police officers are surrounding him. It was a shit show. It was an intense moment.
And in his mind too, I'm sure he's thinking, this son of a bitch set me up. Like this is something you orchestrated. When you just got his trust.
That is something I always will take with me, Max. I did gather his trust, and he did think he was meeting me alone. I could not have gone there alone.
No.
You can't go meet somebody alone by yourself.
Oh, of course not.
That's threatened that. But he was mad at me at that moment. He was pissed. When I got out of the car and I'm yelling at him, Anthony, you got to get out of the car, surrender to these guys. He's yelling at the other cops. He's going, kill me, shoot me. He's screaming at the police officers. And I get out of the car and I start running to his location. I'm screaming, Anthony, you don't want to do this. You don't want to die. I don't want to see you die. You're not dying here. He was mad at me because I wasn't honest with him, gentlemen. I wasn't. I didn't show up by myself to talk to him, and he was met with a large amount of police officers, but you have to take that protocol. And I think Anthony later on understood that, but he was not at the time very happy that I'd given him that trust, and I broke that trust.
Right. But you still showed up, and it still showed that you cared about the guy. You weren't just like, all right, take that motherfucker down. Yeah, we're here. It was like, you were like, Anthony, don't do this. You don't want to do this. Just go with the officers, that kind of thing. So that's what was beautiful about it, that it was just like, wow, man, as I called it, masterful. It was.
Thanks, Max. I appreciate that. I got there and I did the best that I could to get him to kind of relate to it, because he saw law enforcement a certain way.
Yeah.
And he developed a relationship with me over just 90 minutes of, listen, I'm a police officer, yeah, but I'm a police officer that's gone through some fucked up things and gone through separation and stuff. And when he saw me and he looked at me and I looked at him, and we're 30, 40 feet around, and there are guns pointed at his head. And I'm like, hey, man, this doesn't have to go like this. Make sure you surrender to these guys. Just surrender. Everything's going to be fine. We're going to get you to a hospital. We're going to figure out what you need. Ultimately, I appreciate the term masterful, Max. It was, I was blessed to have good training that put me in this situation where I was able to get a peaceful outcome with nobody being killed.
Yeah. Well, and that's what made it masterful, because it was, obviously you established that trust. He wouldn't have gone to meet you or do anything. He probably would have just been shooting up the school or the daycare or whatever, that was key, I think.
You saw it, Max.
Yeah.
Had the police not been there, what would he have done, you think? Do you think he would have gone to the daycare, had Angela not called them at all?
Oh, God.
Called us at all?
Oh,
what
God.
would have happened if he would have showed up there?
He was worked up.
Angry. He's worked up. He's angry. Yeah. He's pissed. He shows up. The boyfriend that she's messing around with is there. Her 4 children is there. He declared an intent to kill the children.
Wow.
Himself, her, and everybody that was there to go to heaven together. He told me that. Had the police not responded to that location, and he arrives with a gun, and he enters that daycare, and he's there, the boyfriend, along with his wife and the children, would he have done that? What do you think?
Probably so. And, just the fact he was so... Because, again, like I was saying earlier, you just want a solution. You just want it to end. You want to hit that off switch. So the one thing that would have been his off switch would have been just what you said. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to kill everybody. Then we'll all go to heaven, and it'll be happy again. That kind of thing. So thank God you were there, and thank God you did what you did and got, everybody. Nobody got killed. There were no shots fired, nothing.
None.
So
None.
It was great, man.
So okay, go ahead.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So I encourage people to watch this and see what their thoughts are. Some people say that there's no way in hell somebody could ever kill their kids and kill themselves. I think right. I think both of you gentlemen are intelligent enough to know, and we've seen this throughout the country where people have killed their kids and killed themselves. Right?
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. All the time.
So this could have happened. Would if Anthony have done that? I don't know.
Doesn't matter. That's the whole point. You don't know. So until you know, that's like someone saying, "Well, why didn't you just go and meet Anthony? He said he was going to meet you." Like, you don't know what he's going to do.
Absolutely not.
I can get there alone, and he could take me hostage. Who knows? I mean, who knows what he's got going on, or other things. So when you were so you were there. So how long? Okay, let's a little time frame here. So you were on the phone with him, like talking to him for 90 minutes. Or you were or when you got there, did the whole thing take about 90 minutes? Like the whole thing took 90 minutes. It's funny. I do a presentation on this incident throughout the United States, everywhere from Florida to Boston to California, and the presentation is 3 hours. The incident lasted 90 minutes, but the presentation is 3 hours, so people in the audience that see it can say, "Hey, Joe, you did this different. You should have done this right. You did this right. You should have done this
another way. It was only 90 minutes, but it feels like an eternity.
I'm sure.
I was stuck in this daycare. It was there's kids screaming. There's windows. I don't know where the hell this guy is. It felt like an eternity. So when I give the presentation, it's done all body camera, Cruz. So people have a chance to kind of see things firsthand. I think when Max saw the video on body camera, that's what's nice. It allows people to see things as I saw them and make their own determination.
And you were at the how long were you at when you got to the car and you're staring at him and you're saying, all right, hey, Anthony, just take a moment. How long did that take with those moments? Because that must have been the tensest. I mean, because you get invested. I don't know what is that called. I know it's
standoff.
Yeah, standoff. But I mean, the term, like, I don't know if you get attached to somebody, like, what is it called, Stockholm syndrome or something like that, where it's not the same thing as having a hostage,
but you feel responsible for the person.
Yeah,
right?
like you were probably sitting there going, oh God, if something happens to him, I failed. I failed in what I was doing. Maybe some personal like connection with him, because he could literally have gotten his head blown off in front of you right there.
Oh, absolutely. As a hostage negotiator, you win or lose. You have to make sure that people stay safe. I have a vested interest at that point in Anthony Montgomery. I have to make sure that he gets out of this one alive. Like I did have a vested interest in this. My God, all I was thinking about when I got there was making sure this guy got out of there safe. Like my hardest moments was when I was in a daycare and I didn't know where he was. It was me, another officer, and children screaming, and I didn't know if he was going to walk in at any time. That part was the oh fuck moment.
Yeah.
The moments when I got there, I knew I was safe then. I wasn't safe at the daycare.
Of course.
I knew I was safe then, but I was scared to death that he was going to pull a gun out, do something, reach into his waistband. I don't know, but man, I did not want to see this end bad. Absolutely. Did I have an interest in this? Sure. I did not want to see this end bad. No.
Wow.
So,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so you got, just to continue on, because you got there and you're standing and you're there and like 30, 40 feet away from him. How long did that take for him to finally say, okay, I'm just going to just let this, I'm going to give up and end this whole thing.
So it when I got there was about, I want to say 5 minutes to 10 minutes after he was surrounded by law enforcement. And he said he'd only surrender himself to me. So actually he showed me video on his phone of the cops surrounding him completely. Now I'm 2 cities over. So when I got there, I was able to get him out and get him restrained in about 3 to 4 minutes, maybe even less. But he was surrounded at that point by multiple police officers whom he didn't have a connection with, from multiple different agencies that were pointing guns at him. There was a News Channel 5 helicopter over him. There's a school in the background. So it took me a few minutes to get over to him. But I would imagine I think he was surrounded by cops. 5-6 minutes, which doesn't seem like much, but that's probably an eternity when you're surrounded by law enforcement.
Yeah, it's interesting thinking about what's going through his mind. Is obviously just completely enraged. It's completely out of it. Just level do that to you, and just betrayal and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then he, but he was also and that's true. What some people say, like, he wouldn't have done what he did. Obviously, there's a chance he would have, but most people like that, he just needed you to talk to him for a while. It's like needed someone to let him know that he wasn't like you said, alone. And then the fact that he actually requested you to come there, and if he didn't, he was going to stay in his car. He's like you're clinging to you, like desperate for someone to like latch on to, like help me. You know what I mean?
We definitely developed that rapport. I think we did. It was a short conversation. I mean, we were only on the phone for a little while, an hour or so, but I do think that him and I did develop that, Cruz. I think we did develop that rapport and that I think there was that level of trust that we did have.
And that's probably a lot from the training that you received in that kind of situation where you are you like trained to try to get, I would assume you're trained to try to get that rapport, to get that kind of trust so that they can let their guard down or feel like there's someone there who's not going to, instantly like shoot them or something like that. I don't know, whatever.
No, you're right. You're right. I went through great training as a hostage negotiator. I've been trained by the best hostage negotiators in the country. I'm not a great hostage negotiator. I wasn't when I was on the team, but I did receive some really good training that really helped me out. The people that I've gone through training with or have followed, Gary Nesner. Gary Nesner is the guy who negotiated with David Koresh, Waco, Texas, 1993. I'm sure you guys probably remember that incident.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Some of the people that trained me or whose footsteps I followed were the best around. And I took a little bit from what they've taught me and did the best I could with that.
Man, and well, then the last piece of this is the guy thanked you the next day.
Yeah.
He was in jail.
So Anthony, after this incident, was transported to a hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. So after that, he was brought back to the South Euclid Police Department, and he was formally charged with aggravated menacing, several other charges. I can't think of them off the top of my head. But when he got there, his thing was, I got to talk to Joe. I want to meet Joe. And I was a little standoffish. I'm like, I don't know. What was you want to talk to me about? Maybe I was nervous. I agreed to meet him. So I pulled into the back where the city jail is. I walk back and I turn on my body camera because you have to whenever you come in contact with somebody. And walk into the jail, and Anthony gets right up and he walks over to me. He goes, "Hey, the man of the hour," is what he says to me. He reaches his hand through the there's a little glass section where you can exchange handshakes or meals or whatever. He's like, "Thanks, I understand what you needed to do. I'm so sorry." He was so apologetic and so happy to meet me. This guy was, wow. He wasn't mad at me at all. He was so happy to have a good conversation with me. And we sat and we talked for about 10 minutes. And in it, he's like, I was in my right mind. I had a bad moment. This isn't me. This isn't who I am. I'm a good guy. I just had a bad moment there. And I'm like, hey, man, whatever happens, happens. It was nice to meet you. I'm sorry that the situation went the way it did, but best of luck to you. And it was definitely a weird situation. Prisoners usually don't request police to respond to the jail and talk to them.
He realized that you might not have only saved his life, but the life of his children. And even the wife that he's estranged from, regardless, he probably, when he calmed down, when the adrenaline was gone, when the rage kind of mellowed out, and he was like, what the hell was I going to do? He's like, man, this guy saved my family.
Let me ask you this. Was he intoxicated at all when all this was going on?
That's a good question, Max. I think he was up. I think he had been up for at least a day. I'm sure he wasn't feeling his right mind. Could he have been intoxicated? Could he have been using drugs? I don't know. But he definitely was.
No.
But to do that crazy as shit. Well, then again,
that's coming from your perspective. I mean,
right?
Yeah. Because you're like, I would never do that, but some people don't. I mean, he just like, dude, he has 4 kids with this woman, which means he's at least been married to her for 4 or 5.
Oh, it was a high school sweetheart. He was 33 at the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
It was his high school sweetheart. Yeah, this was the only love he ever knew.
So it's the first breakup he's ever had, and yeah,
correct.
It's totally fucked him
and
up. She's
screwing somebody else and then leaving him and taking his shit too as well from whatever. I mean, we don't know the specifics on that. Obviously, we're just or whatever
speculation or whatever. But
and we got to think, guys, too. Anthony Montgomery was an ex-NFL football player. He played with the Washington Redskins for 5 years. If you're an ex-professional athlete and you make the league minimum, are you doing pretty good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're probably making a couple $100,000 a year.
At least.
So
yeah.
if you add that for 5 years, what does that come down to? About $1 million.
Yeah.
So to have that and have that life, and he played for the University of Minnesota, great college life, great football life, and to see kind of all that go to shit. I think he was at his darkest moments.
Yeah, probably.
He was at his darkest moments.
Well, and here's a question I have for you. So the part when the daughter, I think, heard her dad and heard him carrying on and started flipping out, how do you detach yourself from emotion and get in that work mode and be like, no, man, I got a job to do. I can't break down here. I can't lose my shit. So how do you do that?
When she walks out and she screams "Daddy," that was one of the, if not the hardest moment of my law enforcement career. Max, that was the hardest moment of my law enforcement career.
It probably was. Yeah, I bet.
It was. I'm trying to get people out of the daycare and get these girls out, and she screams "Daddy." Man, that was tough, brother.
Yeah, I bet. And you had to stay in work
Well,
mode.
you had to keep yourself calm, but you also, in thinking about it, had to keep Anthony calm, because if he hears that might set him off and have him go like lose connection with you altogether.
Correct.
So
yeah, that was definitely a major concern at the time, that he would hear that. I think he heard some of what was going on in the background, but when she looks, oh fuck, yeah, it's a tough. It's tough
situation.
It's tough for me to think about. It's one of the hardest.
Well,
she's walking out the door, and she looks at me, and I'm talking to her dad on FaceTime, and she's got this sad look on her face. She doesn't realize what's going on, and man, she looks at me, and she can't process what's going on. She just knows she's in a terrible situation, and Dad is screaming, and she just screams "Daddy!" And guys, that was tough. Yeah. That's a tough one. That was a tough moment there.
Man, well, thank God you made it come to a peaceful resolution, and the guy thanked you afterwards. So it was the best possible outcome that could have happened there.
I think so, Max. Thanks. Yeah, nobody died. Law enforcement went home safe. The kids went home safe. Anthony went home safe.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I have a coworker. I've had her watch body cam a couple times, and she, the problem with body cam is everything always turns out bad. It's always sad endings. And I told her, I said, you know what? This one wasn't. So
that's good. I know you keep mentioning, obviously there were, mistakes made, and you kind of like downplay your, how good of a negotiator you are. But that time, you were the one, basically you stepped in and stopped what could have been a complete and utter total tragedy. I mean, either he killing himself, or he coming and killing other people, then killing himself, because that's probably what would have happened. He probably, if he would have gone through it, he would have done everything. Well, he said he was going to. So you can scratch that one as a save on that. So
totally, man.
Regardless of how you feel about your abilities and stuff like that, and we all have honest assessments. At that point, you did save some lives that night.
That's for sure.
I appreciate that, Cruz. Yeah, a lot of people have said that. I Jesus, guys, I don't know how the fuck that situation would have played out, but nobody died, no kids were killed, and I'm so happy. I made a shitload of mistakes that day, but I'm so happy that people were just able to make it home safe, and I was able to come home safe to my girl, and Anthony's kids were okay, and nobody got killed. Thank God.
Man,
pretty much. You can look about all the things that you could have done differently, but the bottom line is that it all ended up with the dude shaking your hand the next day. So I'm telling you that, thanking you.
That's a good. That's right, Cruz. When I show this presentation to police officers, and I've showed it to police officers from 44 countries. I've showed the video and everything else, and they say, usually, hey, Joe, no one died. People made it home safe, and that's ultimately the goal, right?
That was the
Absolutely.
big takeaway.
And regardless of what would happen if you weren't there, we know what happened since you were. So, exactly.
Man. Well, I got a question for you. What would
Sure.
you say to a first responder that has oh man, I could have done it differently moment, where they felt like, damn, I fucked this up. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. What would be your advice so it doesn't continue to haunt them and they don't beat themselves up over it?
That's a great question, Max. Listen, you can only deal with what you have at that moment. You can't be responsible for what ultimately is going to be the outcome, whether you're there or not. Don't beat yourself up over a situation that didn't end the way that you wanted it to. Learn from that and try to have a better outcome moving forward for the next call you deal with. Mm-hmm. Every call I've been on a police officer, I didn't always handle right. I've made mistakes. I've done things that I'm like, oh man, I fucked that one up. But I learned from those. So any police officer, any first responder that might go on a call or handle something that they didn't necessarily think handled right, learn from that moment and project that on the next call.
That's good advice. I asked that for selfish reasons, obviously, because as I told you, when we talked last week, I used to do the suicide hotline, and I had a few that didn't turn out so good. Where they hung up on me and I went, shit, that person's, off the rails right now. And what do you do? So there were some times where I was like, oh man, I just want to crawl in a fucking corner, man. That shit sucks.
Sure.
So yeah.
I think it's the nature of life and in pretty much anything. You can only do the best with what you can do. And as long as you're, doing your best, that's all you can really. You can beat yourself up over anything in any situation like that. But those are definitely scarier because you're like, oh shit, this could be like a life like thing.
Death, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, wow. Well, that's quite the story there, Joe, man. And we appreciate you coming on here with us.
Absolutely, man.
Talk to
thanks,
us,
guys.
We always like to to feature like I said, first responders and law enforcement because especially well as body cam footage and all this shit like I said, they always pick out the bad shit. The cops doing like the newest one today is a 6-year-old girl. I mean, it's awful stuff that shouldn't be happening. But there's so much that happens that is good, that is supposed that they help that you don't even think about as a privileged citizen in a first world country of what you guys do every single day. To stop all the crazy batshit stuff from happening.
It is interesting how that works, ladies and gentlemen. 99% of the police officers in this country are there not to hurt but to help.
Yeah,
and develop a good relationship and help people out and get a good positive resolution of whatever call they come on. Unfortunately, you have the bad situation, and those don't make the light. Those don't make the public view.
Yeah, it's always this. Oh, these officers are doing this or they're awful, and then you got fucking restaurants refusing service to cops.
Oh yeah,
Screw them.
Or spitting in their food or some other.
Hey, you're not gonna. Are you gonna refuse service when the robbers has a gun to your head and you have to call 911? Are you gonna you gonna do it then, huh? You're gonna be all, oh well, you can't come in here. Yeah, you're gonna be like, please come in here, officer. I'll give you a donut if you.
Yeah, you're gonna want cops there.
if you get this guy off, yeah, it's so ridiculous, man. Because like I said, it takes such a certain mindset to do that. Like I am completely the opposite. I would never be able to. I would be like, I'm a music. I write songs and shit and do podcasts. I'm not. But so if you're gonna go, oh, screw the police, I'm like, yeah, you gonna do that? You gonna go out there and risk your life for some stranger you don't know? No. Well, yeah. Well, fuck you then.
Yeah. Well, I saw a video too, and this was South Euclid Police, where this 17-year-old girl got pulled over and she's screaming racism and just completely disrespectful to those police officers.
You saw that one, huh?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Oh, it's viral.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
And she threatens, I love it. She's calling him racist, and then she threatens to punch the cop in his face.
And what did she have underneath the seat?
And a gun and weed.
And a gun. And a gun.
Yep.
And a gun. Yep.
That's crazy.
You get a lot of that stuff, man.
Yeah,
yes.
and also any reap. I mean, Any last thoughts or any things you got? I know you said you do presentations and stuff, or do you have any like websites or things that you can?
Cruz Max, LinkedIn, Facebook, reach out. If you ever want to see this presentation in the full capacity, I do it for free anywhere around the country. As long as the expenses are paid, I'd be happy to give the presentation or give my thoughts on this. Be happy to come out and do it. Reach out to me, shoot me an email, go through LinkedIn or Facebook, or reach out, and I'd be happy to help out and come out and do the presentation.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. And according to your LinkedIn, you are a coffee getter.
Yes, I do love coffee, gentlemen.
He's the coffee getter, as he said.
The raw footage of this incident kind of captures it a little bit more than the body cam. So if anybody ever wanted to see that or kind of sit through the moment or dive through it, I'd be happy to do that for anybody that might be interested.
Cool.
Nice. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Officer Joe Di Lillo, for coming on, spending some time with us. And we hope to talk to you soon in the future.
Yeah.
Thanks, Max. Thanks, Cruz. I appreciate it, gentlemen.
All right.
Absolutely.
We'll get stay on for a second after we end this, though, Joe, and we'll go from there. But as is the Nothing Sacred interview, I am Cruise Control.
And I'm Maxwell Silverhammer. And that's
the story there, bitches!
See ya.
We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred. With Maxwell Silverhammer. We are nothing sacred. With cruise control.